Hello and welcome to Geschichten aus dem Leben, a podcast with various guests from diverse backgrounds, hosted by me, Felix Kupferer. Hello and welcome back to a new episode of Geschichten aus dem Leben today with Carrie Forster. Hi Carrie, nice to have you here.
Hi Felix, thank you for this invitation. I'm excited about our conversation.
Me too. I think it's going to be a rather emotional episode, which I always like, but I didn't really know how to ask you if you were willing to join or not because it's a bit of a sensitive topic. But let's see how emotional we get today. First of all, the first question I always ask every guest, and I just assume it's an easy question to answer, but I don't really know if it actually is. Who are you and what do you do in life, Carrie?
It is not an easy question to answer. I think on the surface, I'm a joyful person, right? When you first meet me, I'm full of energy. I'm from America, and I have a lot of these stereotypical behaviors. But underneath that sort of joyful energy, I'm deeply poetic. I am deeply curious. I'm constantly seeking to be wowed by the world. And I really, really believe in humanity to its core.
I think all those traits that you just described make you perfect for the job that you have. You're a coach. You work with people, you coach them to be their best selves. So I guess everything you just described is what makes you great at what you do, because you believe in humanity, you bring joy to the table, you make people feel heard, and you inspire them to discover themselves and learn more about themselves so they can create their own journey moving forward. So, yeah, I think you just described what you do without actually saying what you do. It's perfect.
Yeah, I do think that I was sort of born to do this. It took me a long time to get to the point where I realized, oh, I'm supposed to be a coach. That's what I'm supposed to be doing.
To me personally, it's always very helpful to get some external feedback and also some new perspectives to help me navigate through my life. I never know what I want. I never know where I see myself. So I love coaching. Kudos to you for picking that path, because people like you are very necessary and needed. And times like these especially, where the world is so turbulent, but actually you didn't do it right away. Maybe you could tell us a bit about your journey and your life before coaching.
Oh, how far back should I start?
The very beginning.
The very beginning. Well, I was born on a cold Monday in December back in 1973. No, I had always been an inquiring kid, a nerdy kid. My crazy red hair. I was made fun of a lot. I was bullied a lot when I was growing up, as just didn't look like anybody else. My sister and I were the only Jewish kids in our school. Just kind of being different. That foundation was how I grew in the different roles that I ended up taking. My first job was in an ad agency doing copyright editing. Advertising life and advertising in general is basically just like humanity on steroids. But circling back to your question, I think when you learn the skill of marketing, it's about humanity. You're learning about human behavior and you're learning about how people tick. So I think all of these little steps have kind of slowly led to me being a coach, because I've been so curious about people. Why are we the way we are?
I feel like coaching is a way more useful and also meaningful outlet for your skills than advertising and marketing. Also, I was curious about what brought you to Germany. What made you come here initially? What made you stay?
Yeah, I know. How would I stay? In 1 month, I will have been in Germany for exactly 14 years. My husband and I met in the US. He's German. He had an opportunity to come back to Munich. It was in June of 2011, and we were in Germany by September. And I had said, well, he's been in the US for a while. We just got married. And I felt like it was important for me to at least spend some years in Germany to learn the culture a little bit more and understand him a little bit more. And I kind of said, well, if not now, when? I had a lot of flexibility. I was a managing director at another marketing agency. So I had my clients and I could basically do that from anywhere. So we made the decision to come here. And the following week after we made the decision, I found out I was pregnant with my first daughter. And then he said, are you sure you still want to go? And I said, yeah, let's just do it. Like we've already started the process. And yeah, September 4th was my first day in Germany, 2011.
Okay, wow. 14 years, that's a long time.
Yeah. I didn't plan to stay that long. I planned like 5 years. I was like, let's give it 5 years and then we'll go someplace else. But as this story will unfold, that's why I've subsequently stayed as long as I have.
I mean, it never works out anyway. You can plan for all the years, but then at some point something else happens and it makes you rethink everything. The idea of living abroad for such a long time, being away from family for so long, is scary to me. But I mean, you came to Germany and built your family, so I guess you were not alone. Me, I'd go somewhere by myself and maybe meet someone, maybe not. So I guess it's a bit different because I don't have a partner to go abroad with.
That's a fair point. I had a security blanket in that move because we were moving to Munich, where my husband is from. He's actually from Starnberg, 20 minutes outside of Munich. His parents are still alive and they live there. So while I didn't speak the language and I didn't know what was going to develop professionally and I was going to have a baby in 6 months after the move, all of those unknowns, I still had a level of security because it wasn't like my husband also didn't know Germany. So that's a really fair point. It was easier to take that risk because I knew that I had that buffer.
Yeah. But still, it was quite the adventure, I'd assume. Also, you being pregnant and going through that. Pregnancy on its own is already exciting, I guess. Like all the months leading up to the big date. And then a new human being is born suddenly and you have that creature in your hands and it's like so small, so tiny, so helpless. And then you just see what happens. I guess there's no way to plan for being a parent either because you can learn all about it, but then it's just theory. And once the baby is there, you have to deal with it.
Yeah, honestly, you just summarized it perfectly. It's like, your life is going to change. But the reality is that you're just not prepared at all. And all the stuff that you buy, like all the baby stuff that you buy and all of that prep does not matter in the end. You need like some diapers and if you can't nurse, something to feed your baby, and that's about it. It's very basic. It's funny that we as people kind of think if we throw material things at something that's so basic that is going to make it better or make us more prepared. And that's just such a fallacy.
It's good to have the feeling of control. Maybe it's not for the baby, but for you as a parent. Yeah. So then what happened? Like you were in Germany, you had moved there, settled in, and then Amalia was born. And I guess you were staying home for a while, and then you started working again. How did that go?
So, yeah. Okay, so again, I'm American, and in America, culturally and politically, now this has been a big topic the last couple of elections too, and it's just that the healthcare and women's health, particularly maternal health care, is just terrible in the U.S., but it's kind of a cultural thing. So this was 2012, February of 2012 she was born, and I took 2 months off. And then I had a nanny who came. She would come in the afternoon because of the time difference. All my clients were in the U.S. So I basically had Amalia in the morning, and then I had the nanny come in the afternoon, and I would work until late. And I just kind of did that until she was old enough to go to the kita, to the daycare.
Wow, crazy. Those first few weeks and months are so intense. And also, it's nice to be able to be with the kid for some time, I guess. So I really like the German system where that's possible.
Yeah.
You really want to be there for your child, and then you have to work again at night. I know.
Your body is just like recovering from the pregnancy and the birth, and your hormones are all over the place. And it's just like...
Well, you managed somehow.
Yeah, somehow I managed, yeah. And it doesn't matter because I also wouldn't change anything. And I don't really believe in the concept of regret.
There's no easy way to get to where I want to get to right now. Amalia, she got the nanny and she went to kindergarten. At some point, she got very sick.
Yeah. Okay, so yes and no. She wasn't sick because she was born with a genetic illness. She was born with a disease called gangliosidosis type 2, which the short form is Tay-Sachs. We are born with a gene. The gene is called Hex A, and that responsibility of that gene in your brain is to essentially trigger your brain cells to clean up the fat deposits. We have a certain amount of Hex A in our brain, and it's usually within a healthy range. She was born where her body was not producing enough of this enzyme, this Hex A enzyme, which essentially meant that over time, her cells in her brain were developing these fat deposits that she didn't have enough Hex A to clean them up. So the first years of her life, the first year and a half, when we were experiencing the most growth, she was normal because she had enough of the Hex A to clean up the fat from those cells. But the growth curve started to slow down after 18 months. And so it was right around between 18 and 20 months that we started to realize that some of her motor skills were not working like they were supposed to be working. Like, she would start to fall asleep while she was eating. She suddenly couldn't put her shoes on anymore. The way that she was walking, her balance was off. Also, her speech got a little bit strange, because even at 18 months, you can say some words and you can sing some songs. So we decided, let's take her to a neurologist. It's like a 3-hour evaluation. And basically at the end of that, they're like, yep, something's going on, but we don't know what it is. From that point on, it sent us on this journey of figuring out what was going on. And I will tell you that we went to clinics in Oxford, in Cambridge. We went to the US to an expert on juvenile Parkinson's disease. We saw specialists seeing if she had a brain tumor. At one point, we got to the end of this. On May 13th, 2013, the neurologist had called to make us an appointment, and we knew we were going to get bad news. You just know that the doctor's like, hey, come to my office and make sure that Amalia is not with you. We went to this appointment, and this poor doctor, I think about it to this day, that must be the shittiest job to do. It was tell two parents that their child has a disease that has no cure and they're going to die. I remember her shaking as she was telling us this. And then I just remember I didn't really hear anything after that. It was just oh my God, Amalia is going to die. In our brains, the diagnosis meant death, right away. She's going to die in 2 weeks. We were not yet realizing, what does the diagnosis mean? How is this going to unfold? Yeah, so that was May 13th, and that was the moment that life really changed. When you have a plan and then you say, nope, that's not the plan. It's going to be something totally different. Yeah.
It must be terrible for the doctor to tell you that, but in that moment, it's not about the doctor, it's about you and your husband, how you felt hearing that diagnosis and being told your kid is going to die. How do you move on after that? Of course, you don't know how it's going to go on, what's going to happen next. Just knowing that there's no cure means that at some point it will be over and you will lose your child.
But I will say my husband and I, we're very solution-oriented people. Then it was we moved into, let's figure out what studies are there. Can we get into a study? Can we figure out who are the experts in Germany that we can speak to about this? Well, we realized very quickly that there was one doctor in all of Germany that was really an expert on these kind of metabolic diseases. The community is very, very small. At the time of her diagnosis, we realized she was one of 280 kids in the world who have this disease. Not a lot of people have this disease. That's how rare it is. But there was a community out there, and there were other families that we could connect with. So we quickly moved into, okay, we're going to shift our care strategy to focus on quality of life. The choice we made was we're going to do limited medical intervention and create the best possible life we can for her.
How old was Amalia when you got the diagnosis?
She was 3 years and 2 months.
You already said the first reaction was you thinking she'll be dead in 2 weeks, but she wasn't, obviously.
She died when she was 7.5.
So you still had 4 years after the diagnosis. How did those 4 years look like for you as a family?
Oh gosh. Okay. Life was hard. I mean, there were days that were grueling. I mean, just 24/7 care of a child. Taking care of a kid that is dying is like playing God to someone. Like, I'm not supposed to be playing God. I'm supposed to be her mom. Every decision you make, it's like a needle. It's going to pop the balloon. Is this the decision that's going to make her die? Am I going to be responsible for this? Big questions, which are terrifying and scary. And then the opposite side of it is like, wow, what a gift. What a gift. I get to bring this child into this world, and I also get to journey with her out. I think there was just this duplicity of it all, of like, God, I'm so happy that you're alive, and oh my God, why are you suffering? Why can't it be me? It was exhausting. I think I did not sleep from the time I got pregnant until 2 years after she died. And then I had a baby again. And then I was like, oh wait, I haven't slept in like 13 years. I'm like, what? How am I functioning? But yeah. I mean, that's the very long answer to this.
Every day you wake up not knowing if there will be another day or not, and what's going to happen next. So I guess you don't really have a life anymore for yourself, because all you do is worry about your child and try to think of ways to make her feel better or suffer as little as possible, as you mentioned before. I mean, one thing you do now with your husband is sell food for people who have to be tube fed. Because at some point, Amalia could not eat anymore and had to be fed through a tube. And I think the reason why you started making food for her is that she couldn't really deal with the hospital tube nutrition, and you had to be creative about ways to feed her and started cooking tube food for her.
Yeah. As the disease progressed, she couldn't swallow anymore. Even before, when we started noticing that she was starting to struggle with swallowing, then the hospital prescribed her industrialized nutrition. Then we realized that she was having a lot of side effects from the diet. And I don't know, it was one of those days where I was really frustrated, and I was like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. She ate real food her whole life. Why are we basically giving her a chocolate milkshake every day now? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. So I started experimenting with recipes and finding things that she would tolerate. And what we realized is when we switched her from this industrialized nutrition back to a whole food-based diet, that some of her symptoms were going away. After she died, my husband said, hey, do you still have those recipes that you made for Amalia? I think I want to do something with them. There's nothing like that in Germany. There's no food. Other than HIP has a kind of food-based thing, but it's not pure whole food. So he started his research and found a co-founder. And in 2023, we launched the first product called Simplee, which is a whole food-based feeding and supplemental meal that you can also drink.
It's great that you use those recipes now to help other people that go through the same problems or struggles that you were faced with, because you have all the experience and you know what works, and now you're making it available to other people out there as well. When you sent me a link to the website, I didn't know what you were sending to me. Like, I didn't know about this side of your story. I was like confused. Why is she sending me Simplee? What is this? Like, and then I read through it and I was like, wow, this is so nice that you're sharing this with other people and they can not benefit from your experience, but yeah, in a way they do. You experienced firsthand what difference it can make, and now you help other people. It's sort of a shortcut to improvement, basically.
Ultimately, this is about equitability. It's about equity. It's about agency. It's about inclusion. Meals connect us. We sit together and we break bread. We convene at family functions or team functions, and there's always food and drink. It is how we as humans connect. And then all of a sudden, when you have people who cannot do the normal way of food, what do meal times look like? How do you connect? How can we create a food that doesn't make people feel like shit and that doesn't make mealtimes horrific experiences?
It's crazy how this company would never have started without your experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I always try to remind myself that something good can come out of every experience. And seeing that even out of such a terrible and devastating experience, something good can come out of is kind of reassuring and makes me think there's hope.
There is hope. I mean, I truly believe this. Frank and I, we are in such a great position. I mean, we're two well-educated people who had a terrible experience losing our daughter. And yet, this is the platform which change comes from, right? There are so many people that don't have a voice. To me, this would be wasted time on earth if I don't exercise that privilege that I have. Because it truly is. Yes, my daughter died and I miss her like a limb every day. And yet, I'm so lucky. What a wasted life it would be if I didn't show up for other people somehow.
And you do that in so many different ways. Simplee is one good example of how you show up for other people now with food and a way for them to have meals with their loved ones again that they can actually enjoy without suffering. But also you coaching, you counseling people. I'm pretty sure that your experience made you a better coach because you can relate to people's problems on a deeper level.
That was something really intentional that I decided to do to get that education. Grief is going to be something that we universally experience. And I also believe that grief is not just about death.
And then it's great to have people like you or coaches like you, also therapists who help you find a way to cope with it and move forward.
I like to use the term, how do I integrate this experience in my life? How do I learn to adjust to this new situation? And there's this amazing study about the neurological changes that happen in your brain when you go through grief. And your brain literally needs to rewire itself when certain patterns no longer are there. A lot of people, when they're grieving, they feel so out of sorts and they feel like, nothing makes sense. Like, I feel like I'm going crazy. You're not going crazy. Your brain is just rewiring itself. It is totally normal to feel like you're crazy.
And then I think you just have to get through that moment or that period in life. And at some point, your brain will find a way to make sense of the world again. It's just that in that moment, you have to remind yourself that life will go on no matter what, and you cannot give up, basically. I think it's easy to give up sometimes because if you think there's no more hope, what gets you going anymore? Like if you lose your daughter, why do you even wake up the next morning? Why do you get out of bed? It must be very hard to motivate yourself again and to find a way to live your life, even after such a big loss. And you did. And that's how you can understand what people are going through that reach out to you with their stories. Now you're at this position in life where you can actually use all of those experiences you lived for the better of the world and for humanity.
I mean, going back to this thing, like, how do you get out of bed? I didn't for some time. I think the first couple of days I did literally stay in bed and didn't shower and just, was numb. It's so weird because you know that this is coming. Like a week before she died, we knew we had to make the choice to stop food and water because her whole digestive system had basically stopped working. We were going to give her a lot more discomfort. And so we moved into that sort of end of life stage. When I think about those days, they were so painful. Even though we were sort of prepared that she was dying and knew she was dying, no one prepares you for the days after. And in some ways, I'm still learning it because I'm integrating grief every day because I learn how to be a mother to a dead child every day. This sounds so weird. I don't even know how to unpack this in a simple way, but I do have 2 kids. I have a daughter who's 4, who's alive, and I have another daughter who would be 13, who's not here. and who's dead. It's not like just that, she's dead and that we don't talk about her.
So you have to find out for yourself what it means to be a mom of a dead child, basically. Of course, it takes time. And thinking about it, if you just decided to not think of her anymore, even worse, I think, because then you would just pretend that it never happened. It did happen. She was alive for all those years, and you had such nice memories with her as well. And of course, it was painful, but also I'm pretty sure you also had good days and so many nice memories. And it would be terrible to just forget all of those as well. So I think it's great that you found a way to be a mom of 2 daughters still, because you are.
Yeah. Also, learning how to talk about Amalia to her sister Cleo. How do you talk about these things to a 4-year-old? She asks the craziest questions. Things like, how come my sister never comes over to play? I mean, how do you answer that question?
You found a way to tell Cleo that she has a sister who's no longer with you. And you also found a way for Amalia still to be around in your family somehow.
Yeah.
Which I think is very nice, because also for Cleo, it means that she will grow up knowing she has a sister, basically, even though she never got to meet her.
And then with Cleo, it's how do we raise her understanding that people are different and they're lovable and everyone's life matters. It's kind of our fundamental job on this planet, especially if we decide to become parents. Can we somehow create and bring more kindness to the next generation? I think the world needs that right now.
Yeah. If you know how to do it, please share knowledge with everyone so we get to a place that's kinder and more peaceful.
Yeah, I wish I had this magic sauce. But I do think, Felix, just what you're doing and interviewing people and making that deliberate, brave connection with strangers or almost strangers and saying your life matters just because I'm going to validate it through listening to you and asking about your life. What a beautiful gift that is that you're giving people.
Thank you. So usually I try to wrap every conversation up with 2 questions. One is looking back and one is looking forward. It's not about worrying and regretting, but it's about hoping and enjoying. So what are you most proud of in your life so far?
Honestly, this is so basic. I'm so proud of every mistake that I made. I really am. I'm so proud of those mistakes. I'm so proud of every learning. I'm proud of myself for getting curious, because I think if I hadn't been, I wouldn't continue to challenge myself, to keep growing myself.
You live and you learn.
Yeah.
And what do you still hope for in life? Is there any major goals or dreams that you would like to see come true? It doesn't have to be one big thing, but what's on your list still?
If I could choose only one, the one would be, I really hope for a kinder, gentler world for Cleo, the next generation. Yeah, kindness. That's what I hope for.
I think it's on all of us to make that happen through our actions in everyday life. So I hope that everybody who's listening right now will start being kinder from tomorrow on, if possible. Every little helps, basically. So, yeah.
I think you just smiling at people, when you walk by in the street or even a grocery store and you catch someone's eyes, you can just give them a smile instead of looking away.
It would be so easy to smile and see how they smile back, but I can never do. I know.
Right, I'm going to challenge you to do that once this week and see what happens. It's so crazy what an energy shift that is, because what you get back is usually
another smile. Yeah.
Wait, are you smiling at me?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the easiest, most accessible way just to smile to someone and make eye contact.
So let's all do that. Thank you very much for sharing your life. I was honored to be able to talk to you about this in such detail, because it's your story. It's very personal, and it's not something that everybody would do, I think. So thanks for doing it with me. Thanks for being here today, and thanks for being so open.
Thank you. Thanks for being such a great interviewer.
Well, I guess I'll talk to you soon. And then until next time.
See you soon.
That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast and this episode today. If you liked it, please feel free to spread the word, share it with your friends, and also listen to the other episodes. Some of them are in English, and I'm sure there will be more international guests coming onto the show soon. So stay tuned. Follow the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to it. And also feel free to message me on LinkedIn or my Instagram page. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.